Hi, first graders. Today, we are going to meet the author of your nonfiction books. Who is the author? It is you. That's right. So you'll find that when you read fiction and nonfiction books, there's always a little part, it's usually in the back of the book, that talks about the author. That way, the readers know who wrote the story and they know a little bit about their author. And that's really cool, especially when you get to your favorite author. My favorite author is Kristen Hanna. And so when I'm reading her books, I really like to read about her. Where is she from? What does she like to do? So that's what we're going to be making for you to put into your own books today. So you're going to have a paper that looks like this. At the top, it says meet the author. Okay. Now, when you're reading about different authors, and I'm going to show you some examples, you'll see that there's a picture of the author. So we know what the person looks like that wrote the book. And like I said, it tells a little bit about that person. So this type of writing you're going to do today is very different because you're going to be telling the readers about yourself. So your writing is going to actually be what's it called third person. So you'll be talking about yourself. So if it's me writing, I wouldn't say me or I wouldn't say I, it would be Mrs. Massey. Okay. So when you're talking about yourself, you're introducing yourself, you're going to say your name instead of me or I. Okay. So Dogman, right? We love these Dogman books. You guys are starting to get into that now. So the author of Dogman, his name is Dave Pilkey. Well, what I've written here on the screen comes from his Meet the Author page. This was from his books. So I'm going to read to you a little bit about Dave Pilkey, and then you're learning all about the creator of Dogman. So it says, as a child, Dave Pilkey was diagnosed with dyslexia and ADHD. Dave was so disruptive in class that his teachers made him sit out in the hall every day. Luckily, Dave loved to draw and make up stories, so he spent his time in the hallway creating his own original comic books. In the second grade, Dave Pilkey created a comic book about a superhero named Captain Underpants. Some of you may have heard about that book. Well, he came up with that idea when he was in second grade. His teacher ripped it up and told him he couldn't spend the rest of his life making silly books. Fortunately, Dave was not a good listener. So that is what he ended up doing. Dave's latest creation, Dogman, continues to be a #1 New York Times best-selling series with more than 13 million copies in print worldwide and translations available in more than 21 languages. Dave lives in the Pacific Northwest with his wife. So here we've learned a little bit about what Dave was like as a child. We've learned how he came to write these funny books, and we know where he lives and who he lives with. So we've just learned a lot about him from just reading this little bit. Here's another author. Okay, this author is Kimberly Dean, and she is the author of Pete the Cat. So we love Pete the Cat books, right? Well, this is the picture. Now you can really see what the creator looks like. So it says Kimberly Dean is a children's author and artist, best known as a New York Times best-selling author of the children's book character Pete the Cat. She says of her job, I love what I do. Work is like going to kindergarten every day. Kimberly lives in Savannah with her dog, Gypsy, and cat, Phoebe. Her children and grandchildren live nearby, and her favorite word is lovey, which is the name of her grandchildren lovingly call her. So we've learned a little bit about Kimberly Dean. We've learned about how she loves her job, what her grandchildren call her. Now we know what she looks like. So this is the type of thing that you're going to be putting in your book so that you can teach your readers all about you being the author. Here's one more. All right, Peter Reynolds, right? In the very beginning of the year, we read Ish. We heard the story Be You, and he has a great book called Happy Dreamer. Well, it says about Peter Reynolds. Born in Toronto, Canada, Peter H. Reynolds is an accomplished writer, storyteller, and illustrator. So he likes to draw and write, who has been acclaimed around the globe for his best-selling stories of all ages about protecting and nurturing the creative spirit, including The Dot, Ish, and Sky Color. So those are 3 of his books that he's put into his About the Author page. Throughout all of his endeavors, Peter's mission shines through to use media to tell stories that matter and challenge us to reach our full potential. Besides his publishing career, he founded his own indie bookshop outside of Boston called the Blue Bunny Books and Toys. Peter enjoys in person and virtual speaking engagements all over the world, championing off the path, learning everyday creativity, and inspiring children and grown up children to lead successful and meaningful lives. So, what all that means is he really likes it when he gets to talk to kids in person, or he can talk to kids on the computer, and he can really help to inspire them to do what they want to do, to have successful lives and do things that they really care about. So that's Peter Reynolds. Now about you. All right. These are some questions that we're going to be answering about yourself. These are questions that that have been answered in our 3 authors that we looked at. So first is, what is your name and where do you live, right? You have to introduce yourself. Who do you live with? 2, what do we do? Well, let's talk about school. Where do you go to school and what grade are you in? Okay. Even if you're a virtual learner from home, you still belong to a school. So let's talk about that. 3, what do you enjoy doing and what do you do for fun? And 4, what do you want to do when you grow up? Okay. So we're going to start with number 1. If you look at my example first, the first question was, what is your name? Where do you live? Who do you live with? So over on this Meet the Author page, I wrote about myself. So it says Janice Massey lives in Connecticut with her husband, her 2 sons, Owen and Cooper, and her 2 dogs. So I've told you my name, I've told you where I live and who I live with, all in that one sentence. So I've put up here some words to help you. So it says blank. So remember, you're going to be writing your name. Lives in, I wrote Ledyard or Gales Ferry. You'll pick one. With, either you could write it's his if you're a boy, her if you're a girl. And then here's some ideas. You can do mom, dad, family, grandparents, brother, sister, and then you can talk about your pets. So this is the part where I'd like you to pause. That way we can break this up because we have a lot of writing to do. So why don't you pause the video here so you can write about this first question, okay? What is your name? Where do you live? And who do you live with? And then we'll be able to move on to the second question once you're ready and you've done this part. All right, question number 2. So you can see on my Meet the Author page, I've written in blue what I've added. Okay, so the first question is, remember, what do we do? Let's talk about school. So I wrote in blue. I'm using my first name here because remember, I'm talking about me. Okay, I'm telling the readers about myself. So it says Janice is a first grade teacher at Gallup Hill School. Well, you're going to say, and that's why I have 2 examples here, blank is a first grade student at, you can either write Gallup Hill School or Gales Ferry School. Now, there's different ways. You don't have to just copy what I'm saying. You can put it into your own words. And I'm going to give you another example too. You also might want to say, instead of it this way, blank goes to, and then pick Gallup Hill School or Gales Ferry School, and then do a period and say, he is a first grader or she is a first grader. So there are different ways that you can write down, remember, what your name is, what school you go to, and what grade you are in. So you're going to stop it here, pause it, do your writing, and then we'll go back to the third question. Question number 3, what do you enjoy doing? What do you do for fun? Okay, so I wrote in red, I enjoy reading, camping, and making photo books. Those are my hobbies. Those are things I like to do. So I have 2 sentence starters for you that you can choose to use. I enjoy, or you could say, in my free time, I like to. And I've put some things up here that might help you and give you some ideas. You don't have to use these things, but if you're stuck, it might help you. So different things you might like to do, arts and crafts or dance, go on vacation, play with Legos. If you practice a musical instrument, read, ride bikes, have sleepovers with your friends, play a sport such as soccer, baseball, football, basketball. Maybe you like to take care of your dog or pet. Maybe you like to visit relatives. Maybe you like to go to your grandparents' house or play with your cousins. So I want you to now pause it here because you're going to write down what you enjoy doing. All right, the next question is going to be, what do you want to do when you grow up? So, a lot of you have that idea in your head. You know what you want to do. Some of you are like, I have no idea what I want to do when I grow up. I'm only in first grade. So, there are some choices here that you can look at. And this one of these choices might be something that interests you. Okay, maybe you want to be a baker or a businesswoman where you get dressed up and you go to work in an office. Maybe you like to cook, so you want to be a chef. Maybe you like the computer, so a computer genius, or a construction worker because you like to build, or a doctor, or an elected official. So maybe you want to work in politics. Maybe you want to be a nurse because you like to take care of people, or a pilot, or a postal worker, or reporter, so you can be on TV on the news, or a scientist because you like to experiment. On the next part over, the second part, maybe you want to be an animal doctor, like a vet, a banker, or a coach to coach a team, a dentist, an electrician, a farmer, a firefighter, mechanic, meteorologist, photographer, a police officer, or a server because you want to work in a restaurant. So these are some ideas of what you might want to do when you grow up. You might have a totally different idea, and that's fine too. So what do you want to do when you grow up? Now I've added to the bottom of my paper in green. When I grow up, oops, I wrote it twice. Sorry, guys. When I grow up, I want to be a teacher. I knew when I was in first grade that I wanted to be a teacher. I did. So that's what I would have written. When I grow up, I want to be a teacher. So I have this one sentence starter here for you if you'd like to use this. But maybe you want to say, when I am older, I want to. You don't have to use the sentence starter, but you can. So once again, pause it here, and then we'll talk about the final part of this paper. All right, at the end, maybe you want to add something else, something that I haven't told you about. You just want to say something else about yourself. Go for it, okay? Once you do that, the last thing you're going to do is you're either going to put a photograph of yourself in, if you have a printed picture of yourself that you can glue in, or you can draw a picture of yourself in there. Both will be great, okay? You need to keep this paper with your other writing papers because this is part of your book now. We need to put your book all together. I hope you enjoyed this. Bye.